Hello, David.
Hey, Natalie, how's it going?
Good, good. Super nice to have you on our podcast, the What Podcast. I am going to invite you to introduce yourself and then we can get started. Why don't you tell people sort of what you do and where you are located and what you're
Yeah.
passionate about?
Well, thanks, Natalie. And longtime listener, first time guest here. Thank you very much, Natalie. This is David Fung. I actually have my own podcast called the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast. Natalie, you've been on it in the past, as well as a lot of folks. And during the day, my superpower and my work is I work in a technology company called Salesforce. I work in technology pre-sales. And so, in a nutshell, what I do, I take very, very complicated technology. I'm able, and my team is able to explain it in a very, very dumb way. And it makes it so easy that people want to buy it. That's my team's job. And, what brought me to, the Coach Academy and coaching was even as an individual contributor, what I discovered was the power of you. Like this podcast is called What? Asking the question, not just why, but
Yeah.
what matters about this? What do you want to get out of this? What's the outcome we're trying to drive here? Those are powerful questions, and that made me more curious. And going through your academy twice now in two different courses,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it's made me a better leader. It's made me a much more patient leader, more self-aware leader, but also I feel like I'm more of a multiplier than I thought I was before. I feel I'm a better coach than I thought I was before. So, that in a nutshell is me and what I do, who I am, and how I got here.
Yes. Yeah, it's great to have you here because, well, first for many reasons, but the first one is just the way you've embraced coaching. I've had the pleasure of being a learning leader in a class that you were in, and you also took a class before that. So I'm curious about what has shifted for you in terms of how you saw coaching before, certification, and how you see it now.
One of the things I was very guilty of, and quite frankly, even after the first course, Kelly Wood is a fabulous instructor, by the way.
Yeah.
But even partway through the advanced skills course with you, Natalie, I realize that a lot of times when I'm coaching someone, I want the outcome for them, but much more than they want the outcome.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
is coaching 101, no, right? But I
Mhm.
realized I had that bias because I really felt I want to help this person. And yet by doing that, wanting the outcome more than them, I was doing harm to them in their journey. And that I felt was one of the biggest changes going through coaching. The other thing was, and I think in our course we talked to many. You asked about what are you going to work on this week? What are you working on this week? And every time I said, Natalie, I'm taking away my darn notebook because this notebook is getting in the way of my presence and my active listening, and it's worked wonders.
Mhm.
Mind you, I have a notebook right in front of me right now. I'm not
Yeah.
using it.
Yeah.
I'm not using it. Um, but I felt just putting that notebook to the side. You're just, I, you actually gain more confidence, and you realize you're missing out on so much when you're looking down
Yes.
on a piece of paper.
So much. Yeah.
Yeah. So
You're missing.
those are two big shifts for me.
Well, that's great. It's funny how many people ask, can I take notes while I coach? My answer is always, you can, but, and,
Yeah.
and
And
there's this whole thing you're missing when you're taking notes, right?
yeah.
It's so important when we're coaching or even when we're interacting with people, forget coaching, just having a conversation. Part of being present is turning your attention to someone, and that means eye contact, right? Body language, and all the things you take in when someone is talking. It's not just their words, right?
Yeah.
It's the energy, and you miss that when you're looking down. And the
Yeah.
other thing that I really believe is that when we're writing notes, we're telling our own story. So we're not really hearing the story being told, right? Because I'm interpreting everything you're saying. And sometimes I'm thinking I'm writing word for word, but my interpretations are about my experience, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still projecting onto you what I believe as opposed to hearing what you believe
Yeah.
about, whatever it is.
Yeah, writing is it's good if it's for yourself, but it's not great when it's for someone else. And the other metaphor I'd like to say is that using a notebook is just the old school way of staring at your iPhone while someone's talking.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
You're distracted and you're not paying attention. So you'll be proud that most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, I don't use a notebook or a piece of paper anymore. I
So
just
how
listen to the
have you
person.
handled the big objection to not writing notes that I get all the time
Mhm.
is, "But what if I forget what they say?"
Okay. And so,
Right. Okay. So tell me about that.
um,
What did you let go of?
I- so one of the coaching competencies is being comfortable with not knowing, right? A comfort with the unknown and managing your own emotions. And
Mm,
by the very act of needing a security blanket, this notebook, that is showing discomfort and not knowing. And you're anchoring, you're holding it like that safety blanket. And part of this journey of, and I love how you teach it, by the way. It's safe. It's not like, it's okay to make mistakes as you're learning how to coach. And what I encourage people who are asking that is, what's the worst that can happen if you let go of that notebook? Give it a try. I think what you'll find is like any other habit is that you'll listen better, you'll listen more carefully, you'll see changes and shifts in energy much more subtly, and you will naturally remember things because of that. That's what I would say to that. Give it a try.
mm.
It's the security blanket I have been guilty of holding on to as well. So experiment, give it a try. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people want to hold on to the words that people are saying, writing it down because they want to do the work for the client, right? They
Hmm.
feel responsible for regurgitating what the client has said,
Mm,
paraphrasing, right?
yeah.
But what I think makes coaching a very different conversation is the fact that you don't paraphrase. We don't paraphrase in coaching, right? We're really there to be the mirror, to reflect, and to be the witness to the other person, which means I don't need to understand you. It's
Hmm.
for you to understand yourself better. And that way, I don't need to retain to paraphrase. I want to reflect energy, facial expressions, as you said, body language, certain keywords, emotion. That's what I'm there for. It's not about, this, did I get you right? Right? Did I understand what you said? And here's what I heard. That's a consulting, mediation, negotiation
Yeah.
strategy. That isn't a coaching strategy, right?
Yeah. What could happen literally 30 seconds from one point to another in a coaching conversation could be like transformational for an individual,
Mm.
that aha moment. And so writing it down is peering into the past in many ways. The fact that you wrote it down, it's a looking glass into the past already. If you are not writing it down, you're just looking at the person, you're in the present. So what I found, the notebook, writing it down, trying to retain everything, you are obsessed with the past, even if it's 15
Mm.
seconds in the past. And you need to let go of that, being okay with the present.
Yeah. Well, we talk a lot about, coaching being the most powerful moment you have is the moment you're in.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a really neat way of putting it. So on your journey through coach certification,
Mhm.
what was the most, I mean, you talked about writing notes. Was there anything else that was more like a challenge, a hurdle for you to cross?
Um, I really struggled at the beginning with the unknown, not
Mm,
knowing what I I struggled. So, I mean, I think a lot of our listeners might be able to relate to this is at work, at home, a lot of times, and even in relationships, we need to project that we know everything, that we know our stuff, we are competent, and going into a place where, hey, you don't know where this is going. Now, what I appreciated was the framework as to how to proceed
Mm,
through the process with the client, but just not knowing where's this going, what's this outcome, and hence I was trying to create an outcome that I wanted rather than respecting that we might not get the outcome is the outcome, and
mm,
and that's what I
mm,
realized. And so I wasn't comfortable at the beginning, for probably good like 50%, 60% of the first course I took 2 years ago. It was really unnerving, and it's such a shift for me because again, in my day job and even at home, you you got to know the answers, Dave, right? If you don't, you got to go figure it out. But as you said, that's consulting. That's
mm.
more of like providing advice. Coaching is not that thing, right? Your competency is knowing how to guide someone through the coaching conversation. That is the competency, not knowing what's best for them. That's not what you need to know. And so, long-winded answer, but that was very powerful for me. And
Mhm.
getting and how it shifted me as a person though in my day job and as well as at home was I actually became, now my wife might argue with this, but I feel I became somewhat more accepting of situations and things that where I didn't know the outcome anymore. Like so you're so used to controlling a lot of things in your life. I actually became more okay not knowing what was going to happen next and not knowing what the agenda was. And you just go more with the flow. So it's helped me in my not just in my coaching, but in my life as well.
Well, it sounds like there's a theme of letting go, right? This letting go of the answers, letting go of having the answers, letting go
Hmm.
of needing to control. As coaches, we often talk about uncertainty because it's the only real certainty in life is we don't
Hmm.
know what's coming. We don't know what we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I think that coaching, the biggest value proposition of coaching is being, skilled in change because change is everywhere and it's the only, continuity we have is change, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
Change is
There's
continuity. Yeah. I heard someone say recently, change is not constant. Change is continuous. And
yeah,
there's a big difference, right?
yes.
It's never at a constant, but it could suddenly have this sharp inflection point, which is what happens in coaching as well.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
person's changing in indiscernible ways, and then that aha moment hits. It's like a hockey stick. So change is
Yeah.
continuous, but it's not constant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, wait, and to what you were speaking to before, when you were saying, as a leader, even it's hard not to have the answers or to tell people what to do,
Hmm.
because we have a society that has been conditioned to believe that having answers is creating value.
Hmm.
And so when you don't have the answers, I've heard a lot of leaders say to me, "But what if, I don't have an answer? Where's my qualification as a leader?" Like, well, yeah, but what if your qualification as a leader is to help others discover the answers, to be resourceful, whole, and capable, to challenge their capabilities, to discover their potential, as we say, right?
Hmm.
And then I heard this podcast with Kobe Bryant, and he said it so well. He said when he was, when he was, obviously he's not now, but when he was coaching young women in basketball, he said, if I coach them and to tell them what to do in a game, in one practice or in one situation we were in, he said I could coach them to win the game. But he said if I asked them to assess situations, to like tell me what they noticed, what their perspective was, what they were feeling, what position they
Hmm.
should be in, he said I was coaching them to explore the potential of their career, not just the
Hmm.
game.
Yeah.
So he made it. he made it, and I probably butchered that, but he was way more eloquent. But the idea is that, it's kind of like that whole, you give a horse water, he has a drink. But if you
Yeah.
bring the horse to water, he has, a source of water for life.
Yeah.
Well, this is the beauty of coaching to me.
You're teaching someone to think, how to think, and how to explore their creativity, make mistakes along the way. I was talking to a fellow a graduate of your program as well the
Mhm.
other day, and we were talking about how uh, and we're talking about how we actually became better coaches of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, on that note of teaching someone how to think through coaching by me learning this methodology and exploring and trying different things, getting rid of the notebook, just being okay with not knowing. Um, it made me better at coaching myself
Mm-hmm.
because, uh, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate where I mess with my own mind when things got really uncertain. And my own worst enemy was myself and the stories I would tell myself. And here's the thing: the most confident people in the world have the worst stories. That little gremlin that talks to them. I've learned to talk to that gremlin much better. I've learned to coach myself much better. And it's because I've learned how to coach others. And so through this exploration, Nathalie, the unexpected benefit was that I got better of dealing with my own crap. Can I say that
Oh,
on this podcast?
yeah. Yeah, you can say whatever you want. Yeah. Well, as long as it's authentic.
I can get more authentic.
Yeah,
No,
go
I'm
for it.
just,
Space is yours.
yeah, let's get the
Yeah.
champagne out.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about like what you were just saying, is really, I think, important when it comes to, um, like, it's so true that when you look at successful people, you think, oh, they were always successful, or oh, it's just a natural talent, or
Hmm.
you just assume people got there without effort somehow.
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and I think this is like a society thing. I don't know what it is about it. It's this, it doesn't really matter, but the idea that, when you look at successful people and that they overcame their self-doubt through practices like coaching, and
Hmm.
and that little gremlin is something that actually I've talked about with coaching workshops in grade school, like grades 5 and 6 and
Hmm.
7. I go in and I talk to kids about, that little voice in your head, that you can make it really quiet, and then you can also make it really loud, and you can actually change what it says. And they lean in. They're like,
Yeah.
really? They actually do that. They like lean in. They're like, really? And they're kind of like touching their ears. It's just, it's when you can change, you will. It's kind of, it's Carol Dweck's research on
Yeah.
mindsets.
Yeah.
When
Growth
you know
mindset.
and believe you can change, you can, right? You will.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. And even at our age, my age, I don't know how old you are, so I'm gonna say my age.
I'm still in my early 20s, in my mind at least. Yeah. My
Yes.
doctor says otherwise.
Oh, that's great. Is
I
that
tore I tore my Achilles many years ago, and my doctor, funny guy, he's like, Dave, you know the problem with guys your age? I go, what? He goes, in your mind, you think you're 16, your body's actually in its 40s.
yeah.
And when you have that disparity, you got a problem. You're going to tear your Achilles. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yep.
It's hard.
Uh,
It's hard to age. But even then, I think coaching has helped me with, just I feel I've reframed aging for myself. Like aging to me is wisdom, it's experience. It's, you talked about failure earlier. You
mhm.
must fail to
Yeah.
learn, to grow, to discover what you can do, right? To
Yeah.
discover what you're capable of. You can't do that in a safe box where you never
Yeah.
challenge yourself. And if there's challenge, there's a risk of failure. And I think that those are the moments where people learn the most about themselves.
Can I ask you one question? I know it's your podcast asking you,
Yeah,
but
go
I
for
am
it.
I am curious asking you this question because again, like you built this company up over a decade, and I think you've been very transparent about like the struggles you've had personally, as well as building this company. And some might see, oh well, look at Natalie, so successful. That overnight success. More than a decade in the making.
Yeah.
I say that
That's
sarcastically,
funny.
everyone. Okay,
Yeah, I
you know, but
know.
my question to you is that let's just say you think of some of the most painful things you had to go through in the last decade building this company. If you had a chance to take it away, would you do that?
No, not for a second.
Okay, what if I asked you this question while that problem was happening? Would you have wanted to take it away?
No,
What
no.
what makes you what gives you that mindset?
Well, because I have been through some really, really challenging things that a lot of people would have given up. I mean, I can say that pretty honestly. A lot of people would have said, no, not for me, walking away.
Mm,
Um, and even in those moments, anybody asked me, are you ready to give up now? Absolutely not. Because I believed in the only thing I could really believe in, which was me, myself. And I felt more than anything that I was exactly where I needed to be. And that this, whatever it was, as hard as it was happening for me, not against
mm,
me. That I had to go through this to experience the glory, the best of me that I could create. So everything, the hardest things, the things that nobody wants to talk about or face, those are the things that build beautiful companies and champions of sport and all the people that do great things, or just the resilient person. You don't have to be Superman, you don't have to be building great companies. You can just be a really strong, resilient, wise person. And
mhm.
you're that because of the tough stuff. It's not because of the easy stuff.
Yeah.
you know we just started a class on motivation. It's the second time we've run the class, and every first class I ask people, in the first 5 seconds of the class, I say, okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Check it in the chat. We don't have time for check-ins. I'm getting right into the material. And we had 58 people online.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I said, so raise your hand if you've ever lost your job. Raise your hand if you've ever got passed over for a promotion. Raise your hand if you've ever had your heart broken. All these things, right? These challenges that we face. And then I said to them, now think about the greatest lessons you've learned in life. And what happened right before? Was it a
Mm,
success or was it a failure? And everybody, failure, up,
mhm,
hands up. And I thought, and it just goes to show, like, those are our defining moments of growth, right? That we are. I've learned really, and I mean, maybe it's years, it's decades for sure of conditioning, but I was so fortunate to be put into a coaching program when I was in my 20s. So I have been doing this work for a long time, and I was able to reframe failure. That doesn't mean I'm not afraid. I'm afraid all the time.
yeah, of course.
I'm always, I'm in a very, to be an entrepreneur is to take risks, right? Higher the risk, higher the reward. So there's that, got to balance that, and you have to, but I do have absolute faith that the challenges are the ones that catapult you to your potential.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. You got me all passionate now. Any other questions? Do you want to flip this?
Hey, as you said, it's two friends just chatting, right?
Yeah, no, I love that. I'm like, this is great.
I had to take my chance to, take this opportunity to ask you that question. So, no,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, no, it's been and I think um when people talk about failure, they seem to think there's often what comes around that is like shame or something like this,
Hmm.
less than, not worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had one message for the world, it would be, well, it would be, who would you coach today? But also it would be, you know, failure is a must. You must fail to be able to discover who you are, and that there's no shame in failure. Absolutely
Yeah.
no shame in failure. In fact, it's more shameful not to fail because it means you didn't try. You
You
didn't
didn't
push.
try. You,
You
you
didn't
didn't you
risk.
didn't you didn't push any limits. You always tried to stay in the safe zone. You know, I had two very different conversations recently. One person I was
Okay.
coaching earlier in this person earlier in their career, and what I saw here was someone who was literally trying to um, prevent any failure from happening, and it was stifling this person in their ability to take action and make decisions, and they realized that. Contrast this with another conversation I had with a gentleman who, many years my senior, and I asked him, like, so how did you get to where you are now? You know, talking to board of directors and consulting with CEOs of large organizations, and they go, Dave, they say to me, I'm not hiring you just because you talk well. I'm hiring you for all the stabs you have in your back and how many times you got the S kicked out of you. That's why I'm hiring you and to advise us. And that stuck with me because
Mm-hmm.
this man, like, he's been around the block, and he's seen many things in his personal life as well as in his professional life. And to hear that from a client, I'm here. I want you because you've been stabbed in the back, proverbially many, many times. And that's why I need you advising me. And so, around failure, like, that's, you get the proverbial stab in the back because you failed, because you didn't see something, because you fell on your face. Right.
Oh
Um,
yeah, for sure.
but that's what drives your success. And that's why people want to hear from you, not because your life was all, la di da, all was
Yeah,
good.
you
Right.
know, yeah, people aren't interested in, the perfect story. I think that what's important is that you can build mental toughness. And that sounds
Mhm.
like, people who I think coaching actually builds mental toughness. I
Yeah.
think that there's this, really powerful conditioning that happens in coaching when you're learning to coach and you're learning to challenge your perspectives and you're learning to the power of reflection and
Hmm.
all those things. It's like when I'm at the gym. When I'm at the gym, my trainer has this like deflated turkey that's kind of say like laying on its side with its wings, and like it's crushed, like it's exhausted.
Yeah.
And I push it down and it squeaks, and it's a great, I love it because every time I'm like no, I can't do this. I look at the little turkey and I'm like, okay, I can. I don't know why, but it helps me reset. And that's what it is. That I think coaching is a reframe. It's a moment of, like you talked about, aha moments. It's those moments that generate a new perspective, and that just to me shows the plasticity of the mind,
Yeah.
right? Are the power of your mind to shift.
Hmm.
And yeah, and that's the gift, isn't it?
It is the gift. And to the folks out there who are being coached for whatever, if it's you and me going through something and we're being coached on it, it doesn't mean you're not going to feel the pain. It doesn't mean you're not going to feel the doubt. It doesn't mean you're not going to doubt yourself and almost want to quit. It's okay. And that's what you need to accept as part of the process. Like, mental toughness, it doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It
Yeah,
means you are carrying on despite the pain
yeah.
that you're going through.
Well, and for your question earlier, I can tell you every single like very, very difficult time in my life, I've had a coach to get through it. And I'm
Hmm.
a coach, and I'm an MCC level coach. I coach all the time,
Yeah.
but it's not enough. You've got to be coached.
Yeah.
That's the, that is such an important part of building that mental toughness and staying connected to the
Yeah.
competencies. In fact, I was coached last week. It was so cool. I was telling a class today, I used a metaphor of dropping a stone in the water and seeing the ripples. And my coach says to me, "What if it wasn't a stone?"
Mm,
And I said, I was like, "Oh, well then," she goes, "What would it be?" And I was like, "Well, it would be like a puff." I don't know why I said puff because it floats, right? I said
mhm.
I would just drop a puff in the water and watch the
Yeah.
ripples. And now I'm floating instead of sinking. And that shift was like, oh my God, the possibilities thinking that emerged from that one
Yeah.
shift for me was huge. And I did not expect it. I didn't anticipate it. Like it was really powerful for me to change the metaphor.
Yeah. The metaphor that I had a coach help me through, a year and a bit ago, when I was going through like a lot of mind effery because things were going on. Um, I was talking to myself really badly. Um, and there was a lot of things, and they helped me go through a metaphor. It's, well, what would this person be saying? What would this voice be saying? Well, it's like this inbox in my email that's just constantly like bing, bing, bing. And there's yet another thing,
Mhm.
yet another thing.
Mm.
And they asked me, how would you want to answer that email? I want to answer it saying, thanks, but I'm busy right now. Thank you. And I close my laptop. And that was the metaphor that this person helped me through to
Mhm.
answer just some of the voices going through my mind. But the power metaphor there, something that, you've taught a lot of that too, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing. Like we think in pictures a lot, huh? You know, things are
Oh, yeah.
analogies, things are metaphorical to us. It's very powerful to humans, huh?
Well, metaphors are the window into someone's deep thinking, their
Hmm.
worldviews. The
Yeah.
metaphors we use, we think they're abstract, but actually they're very much connected to what we perceive and what we feel about the world, about our lens.
Mm.
And like, yeah, there's just so much. That was one of the biggest like reveals for me in coaching, was learning about the power of metaphor. I don't know that I had any clue before that, and now I'm just obsessed with metaphors. I just think there's so much. And the other thing that I was thinking about when you were just talking about that experience you just had with coaching, it's in the dialogue that happens. Like if you were just talking to yourself, you wouldn't have the awareness that's evoked that
Hmm.
you do when you are in dialogue with another person, because that connection and that energy is part of the process. It's part of the power of coaching. And that's
Yeah.
what people say to me, what happened? Is AI going to replace coaching? No, it can't. It will support, it
Yeah, it'll support
will
it.
it will complement,
Yeah.
but I don't think, my personal opinion anyway, I don't have any theory or research to back
Yeah.
it, but I personally do not think that coaching can be replaced by technology.
Unless there is a technology that is conscious and is empathetic and has a lot of the same human values as me and you, and can feel and perceive another human being. I, I don't know if we'll get
I don't
there
think
anytime soon,
we
but
may get there, but I still don't think that it could replace, because of the energetic connection and that the
yeah,
needs of humans to feel belonging.
there is something about energy in
Yeah.
living things.
Yeah.
Um, I I was listening to someone saying that, like, have you ever walked into a room or a house or a place, and some places just give you a chill? There's something off about it, right?
Mm.
Like I was listening to a podcast where this gentleman, he was a military guy, and he did say, like, he goes, yeah, I'm a big tough guy, but there's certain places where he goes where he feels it, right? Whether when he was overseas or he was at certain places where certain things happened, right? And they
Mhm.
feel this energy, and it just makes them want to, run away. And I think that that energy that we just feel, like amongst nature, amongst humans, amongst buildings, and there's something about living things just leaving an imprint about where it is. Like, this is getting very metaphysical, but I really believe we leave
Yeah.
some imprint on a house or wherever we've existed. If there was a lot of happiness in this house, you would feel it. I've been in houses where, and I don't know what it was. There was something about it, it just felt off, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I think that's the thing, where that intuition you get between two human beings. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but something just doesn't feel right with Nathalie right now. You know what I mean? Like, we were coaching,
Yeah.
and but
Yeah.
you can't put your finger on it, but that's the intuition coming out, right? Um, so you just
Yeah.
reminded me of that, the energy that comes from living things.
Right. And I don't think that AI can replace intuition, right?
I
Or
hope not. I hope not.
feeling or well, if and then, like I said, I do believe it can complement, it can support. But what I think more than anything, well, when and when you were just talking, I was thinking about, how when somebody dies, their body completely changes the moment the breath is gone, like the last
Hmm.
breath is taken, right?
Yeah.
We've all probably seen this to some extent where, and what is that? That is energy, that is vibration, that is
Mhm.
soul. That's not just a heart stops beating.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
this essence leaves. And to me, that is the kind of the analogy I would use for AI. Like, the essence, no matter how sharp and technologically sound and innovative, it's still not human.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We're gonna we're gonna keep this right here so that AI can analyze our conversation in the next 5 years, and it's gonna remember this. Like, Nathalie, you said I wasn't alive. I remember that, Nathalie.
Oh no, that's so creepy. Oh my God. That makes me think of the movie Her. Have you seen the movie?
Yes, that was disturbing. How that dude was.
That is so disturbing. Yikes. But
Yeah,
I think, like, isn't it where is it in China that they have AI robots that look like humans now?
yeah.
Yeah.
They've had those for a while.
Oh, have they?
Unfortunately,
I don't
it's
know. I'm
they're
not.
kind of weird. But there's companies like Boston Dynamics that are creating, not necessarily that I'm not very familiar with the actual interactions with it, but the movements of these robots they've created. Um, from a distance, it looks like a human being. From a distance, the four-legged animal, it looks like a dog. But then when you get closer, you're seeing, oh shoot, it's a robot. So imagine you put a layer of skin over that thing, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we might get there faster than we think. So I'm not going to say anything here that's going to offend the future AI overlords. Okay, Natalie?
Well, I look forward to seeing how AI can help us simulate coaching conversations, coaching, like, group coaching, team coaching, different personas and profiles like alpha personalities
Hmm.
or, executive versus life coaching. I think there's a lot of possibilities in that, like to get coaching hours and to practice and to really um, delve into skills training using AI.
Yeah.
Um, those simulated kind of VR AI type of environments.
Yeah. I mean, my company already uses, I can't remember the software name, but it's kind of elementary still, but it's like, hey, use the simulator as a manager to simulate feedback, right? Providing feedback to an employee, and
Oh,
it interacts with you, and you know, uh, it's kind of corny on it.
mhm,
Honestly, it's
mhm.
not at the level of ChatGPT yet, right? But it's it could that could with the technology that's out there right now. A lot of folks are predicting that it's where how we talk about change. It's continuous, not constant. We are about to hit that hockey stick in change when it comes to artificial intelligence. So, and literally like within the next 4 to 5 years. And I don't
Mhm.
know they don't know exactly what that means. I don't know what it means. Um, we'll find out here in a few years, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you don't embrace it, you'll get left behind. So, absolutely, you want to embrace and stay either with or ahead of the curve, right?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how like organizations like yours, how like eventually when it comes along far enough that this technology, how we might be able to actually use it and feel safe enough with it to unleash it into your community of coach learners. That'll be interesting. I don't think it's there yet, but I don't think it's
No,
far away
there's
either.
data protection as well. Like there's some elements that have to be ironed out. Like I remember talking to a company in London, England, who was doing VR and adding AI at that time. They were being, pretty innovative with it. And they said that, so I said, so what are the issues? What are the problems? What are you running up against? And they said, well, the big one is containing where the information is coming from. Like AI just scans the web, right?
Yeah.
And it goes into like all kinds of dark places, the dark web and all that.
Hmm.
So there has to be a way to limit where that information is drawn from to protect,
Hmm.
the messaging and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the data pool has to be governed, I guess, limited.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. And so then I had an idea, which probably shouldn't be talking about here, but whatever.
You can edit this out.
Yeah. Well, I had an idea of using. We have a lot of data, right? We have
Mhm.
a lot of recordings, a lot of like sample coaching conversations. So if you have a closed data pool that you pull from. And then the AI, let's say the AI is the coachee, and it can pull from that and have immediate responses to the coach
Mhm.
that are not predictable and they're not patterned out. But they're pulling from all the different coaching conversations that have ever taken place and making sense of a dialogue. So
Yeah.
every conversation is unique, right? And every conversation is obviously safe because it's a private
Mhm.
data pool,
Yeah.
and you have a multiple endless opportunities for different conversations.
Mm. Yeah. Yep. I think the technology is there already to do something like that,
Yeah,
but the trust around what happens to that data, as
yeah,
much as sorry, but OpenAI says they won't use my data to train its algorithm and such. Sorry, I don't believe that.
no,
I
I don't either,
I
but
don't believe that for 1 second. I have a lot of distrust, even though I work in tech, right? I have a lot of distrust of these organizations that what they will do with my data in the consumer, on the consumer side of things. So
yeah, yeah.
that'll be interesting, but we'll see what happens there. All right, we're gonna
So let's go back to you. AI, AI
this
will figure
we're
itself
we're two
out.
friends talking.
Yeah. Well, what's next for you? You've done, the foundations course, you've done the
Yeah.
advanced course. Are you going for your PCC?
Yes, I am. Yeah, yes, I am, and I'm on the path there. It's on target, so I'm more than halfway through my hours that I
Right?
need, right?
Yeah.
And I'm continuing with mentor, the one-on-one mentoring right now. Like I think it was you mentioned like to go for your PCC, you don't need more mentoring hours. I don't like that. Like it's like the mentoring I got a year and a half, 2 years ago. I'm a different person from then, right? So
Right.
I'm continuing my mentoring. I'm doing a
Right.
group mentoring that's coming up next week as well.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, like and it's a high bar that's set here. Like when I see I know you're MCC, but I see yourself. I've seen Kelly, coach and other PCCs. Like it's a high bar that's set, and it's good. It should be a high bar that's set
Mhm.
here. So I think even when I do achieve the PCC, I'll be like, all right, this white belt just entered the ring.
Yeah.
Um, Still have a long way to go, but that is something I want to achieve. You know, I still, I have a full-time job doing in the corporate world, but I do see myself one day, I won't be doing this rat race forever. I don't want it to be. It's a long life we have, and I want to try other things at some point too. Not yet. I still have a lot to give in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something like right now, it's helping my day job. But I can see, with all the stabs in the back, as we talked about, I can give a lot of value to organizations as a PCC coach, and with, the experience I have in the corporate world. So that's my loose plan. And in the meantime, my side gig is doing a podcast, right? It's a leadership podcast. I called it Coachful Coaching, and we sort of talked about coaching, but I talk about whatever, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anything about leadership, and I've
Mm-hmm.
had people talk about AI, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
one of my old buddies, like we talked about AI and how it learns, and how humans need to show that leadership to teach AI, because AI is like a child, right? And so it's become this beast of its own, where I just
Mm-hmm.
have people come on to talk about anything. But it is focused, it's around leadership. And I have fun doing that podcast.
How many episodes are you at now?
I'm at, I'm at 50 right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so good.
50. I've had over 1,000 views recently.
So
It's
nice.
it's it's still growing, right? It's like
Yeah.
I'm not all in like 120%, but for a side gig is not bad, I guess.
Totally. No, it's, you know what, it's commendable that you're consistent and you keep doing it, and you sound very passionate about it too. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean, on average, it's like you average it out. It's like one episode every 2 weeks if you average it all out. And here's the benefit: is just meeting a lot of great people. Because
Mm.
every person I have on, I go, introduce me to one other person, and it's someone else who just does,
Yeah, that's a
something
great way
else.
of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's been really fun just meeting different people, and from really different walks of life, Natalie. Some folks their story is amazing, and so yeah, that's what's next for me so far. But just like
Well,
yourself, I want to I want to share this information. Like I want to share this information. I'm not hoarding it. I want to make sure that whatever I learn, other people are benefiting from it as well, and that needs to be my legacy.
yeah. Well, I'm hearing a lot about community. You're talking about referrals and network, and
Hmm.
what has been the role of community for you in your development as a coach? Because you know
Hmm.
that I don't know if you know, but we've done a lot of work in our community to establish a place where people can guarantee their investment on their certification, where they can come and not only
Yeah.
have certification, but have workshops that support that, live
Hmm.
demos and skills training and all that. What do you think is the role of community for you in your development? And after you become PCC, like, is there a role for community in your continued development?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's no doubt. I was just talking to someone I just met in this community, right? This coaching community the other
Yeah.
day. Net new person. I reached out. I say, hey, let's exchange some coaching hours. And it's amazing. You would, because of this community, the first time I met this person, we had a discovery call, but the coaching conversations we got into were very personal. And how often, if I told you, if I went to my mom right now and say, "Hey, mom, I went to a stranger I don't really know, but I trust," and I told him a lot of deep dark secrets, right? Well, not that deep, but very personal things. But that is the role of community: is that you build a place where, like what you've built as an example, and I want to do this, is a place where people trust each other, right? It's the norm that you will respect each other, you will respect other views. There's implicit trust in individuals, and that's something I reflected on with this individual. We were saying we're really honest with each other, considering we barely know each other. And so, all that said is
Mhm.
that it's opened my eyes as to, like, you know what I want to continue doing, right? Is this, whether it's my podcast and this community of people I've built there.
Yeah.
I try to do the same thing at my work, to build a community, of individuals that help each other. That is, like, first and foremost, there's trust, and there's a sense of collaboration. Like, that is so important, that we help each other. And my team going to say, Dave, stop. I was like, I'm never going to stop with saying we all must help each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going to help me, right? It's going to help. If I help others, it's going to help me. So, and we talked about service before, right? And if I'm helping others, that's how I help myself. So that's the role of community for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's even research that says that community equals progress,
Yeah.
right? That we need others, for psychological safety and for belonging and for um, a continuity of knowledge and exchange of knowledge and flow, and also motivation. Staying
Mm-hmm.
connected to our desired outcomes. Community is a very important part, and I've always wanted to build. Like it was a really one of the things that I thought about when I was first establishing the company was the role of community. It came to me very quickly after having a few of the workshops, like the certification programs run, and I saw how people were connected.
Mm-hmm.
I saw
Yeah.
how people really wanted to have more connection time
Yeah.
and wanted to stick together and become friends with people who are like-minded.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've heard so much recently about people saying, it's so nice to come to a community where people are on the same wavelength and, you're going to have a conversation and everybody's talking about from the same wavelength, from the same,
Mm-hmm.
mindset, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know what it
Yeah.
is.
There's a shared value
Yeah,
system, like not
values.
exactly, but a shared value system
Yeah,
where you might have a different take on it, but shared value is like, I'm going to respect
yeah,
your point of view and you're going to respect my point of view. Right. And, but yeah, there's a shared value system. And I think, just naturally people are like, they believe in coaching here, right? How, by helping others, by asking great questions, by being open, everything that we just talked about, that's how you help someone, not wanting the outcome more than they want it and being okay with the
yeah,
unknown. Like just so
yeah.
many things that
Letting
these are
go.
life lessons that you're
Mm-hmm.
learning through the
Mm-hmm.
coaching and the coaching community. These are
Mm-hmm.
life skills that we're learning, which is the beauty of here, all this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's shared learning. It's learning from each other. It's not just like that's what I really appreciate about the courses that you're the perfect person um to attest to that. It's you go into a class and you're not just learning from a learning leader, you're learning from every person in that
Hmm.
room, right? The way
Yeah.
the dialogue and the exchanges and the shared experiences. It's
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wonderful. It's fun. Well, so
So
what's up
tell
for the
me,
holidays?
yeah, well, oh gosh, we have a very much needed shutdown from December 18th to the 2nd of January. So that'll be good. Time to catch
Yeah.
up. But I just want to say thank you so much for this time. It was just
Yeah.
fun to connect and just really chat and in no particular order or agenda, but I just want to thank you for the continuous support that you offer us, the trust that you have put into this academy for your professional development, and yeah, and you just bring such a great energy and vibe to the community. So thank you very much for taking your time today.
Oh, thanks, Nathalie.
Yeah. Well, want to tell people where they can reach you? Like
Yeah.
website? Yeah.
Yeah. You can find me at coachfulcoaching.com. My podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, really anywhere you can find your podcast. It's called Coachful Coaching. So Coachful, Ful, coaching.com. That is my website, but that's also the name of my podcast. And subscribe and smash that subscribe button.
Yeah. Well, we'll put the details in the description so people will be able to click a link.
Yeah.
Yeah. And good luck with your podcast. I recommend anybody listen to it. It's a great one. And I of course listened to the one that I was the guest on, but
Yeah, especially that episode. Transformational.
transformational.
So many aha moments and hockey stick
Oh,
moments, and
yeah.
change was continuous. So
Yes.
I got to bring it back.
Oh God. All right. Thanks, David.